This one is a heavy case.
Tears filled the courtroom as the mother who admitted to killing her baby daughter was found not guilty by reason of insanity following a 2-day bench trial.
As to count 1, aggravated manslaughter, the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity. As to count 2, attempted murder in the first degree, the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity. And as to count 3, attempted murder in the first degree, the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity.
Moments after learning she would not be convicted, Precious Bland spoke briefly outside the courtroom.
God is good. This doesn't bring back my daughter. I'm thankful. I love my children.
State prosecutors tried to prove that this mother of 6 killed her 15-month-old because she told investigators her husband was cheating.
The voices and the COVID psychosis is a fabrication and an embellished story.
The judge didn't buy it.
That theory, it doesn't make sense to me that she decided to do all the things that she did, going to all the neighbors, calling her family members, putting the kids in the water, all of it because she was angry due to some perceived infidelity.
Her lawyers argued Bland was overcome by the voices in her head and had a COVID-induced psychotic break.
Satan is a deceiver.
There's so much that we don't know about COVID, and this was, one of the first case in the country to go to trial on COVID being the defense to murder.
Bland spent 3.5 years behind bars before being released about a year ago. Now, after a judge cleared her of criminal responsibility in her daughter's death, she says she's focused on moving forward.
Just ready to get my life back together, my husband and my children.
A shocking verdict. Again, she was found not guilty by reason of insanity in a bench trial.
I was trying to look at it from the defense's position. I know Florida has one of the narrowest, from what I understand, the narrowest statutes for using a defense of criminal insanity. So narrow is meaning it's the hardest. It's one of the hardest states to use that defense. But when you use that insanity defense, from what I understand, let me look at my notes here. It's called an affirmative. It's an affirmative defense, means that the defense, they can't just say by reason. The defense has to prove or overcome a burden after they initiate that particular defense. I'm still speechless.
Nicole, what Shelley was saying is right. Both defense and prosecution's own psychological evaluator agreed she met Florida's legal standard for insanity at the time. She did not understand the wrongfulness of her actions due to mental disease or defect. Your thoughts, Nicole?
A part of that statute that has Florida lawmakers taking a second look at that particular statute is it's a moment in time. It's like a snapshot. What was her mind doing in that particular moment? She COVID psychosis is a thing, but it is incredibly rare, incredibly so. And this is the first time that someone actually acted on it. Usually when people start acting funky and talking about God's going to come kill them and all of that, their family is proactive and calls 911 and they're hospitalized until they can their mind can kind of right itself. But in this instance, she decided that she needed to baptize everybody in the house and started with the child, because she has four children, the one that was closest to her, the 15-month-old, and decided to put her into a tub and hold her down under the water. And although this child was fighting her, scratching her, biting her, trying to save her life, and every time she let her up a little bit, screaming and hollering, that's what brought the husband in. She stabs the husband. He goes running for his life. The teenage daughter comes. She stabs the teenage daughter. Now, keep in mind, I said that she was drowning one, suddenly produced a knife, stabbed 2 other people. They grab the rest of the kids and run out. She's still there with the toddler and kills the toddler. Now, a moment in time. What made this case super despicable to me was one that she did not have a jury trial. It was a directed verdict from the judge. That's a problem. because he's not looking at it as a member of this community. He's looking at it strictly from a legal standpoint. And if our system was designed to do that all the time, lots of people would be getting away with all kind of stuff, right? Because judges they're using their training, their legal training, their legal train of thought instead of the mores and things of the particular community. Now, I don't know about you, but a dead toddler is a problem for me. When we talked about how the Hispanic community was upset that Kaysen didn't get more time in jail because their community standard says for life, it should be worth more than 10 years. What I've said publicly about Austin Metcalf, 35 years is not enough for a young American man. It is just not. 3 years in jail is not enough for the life of this toddler. It simply
she didn't get any time. She that was the time she spent
she was
prior.
They gave her credit for time served.
What I don't understand, the thing that I don't understand most about this is, okay, they found her insane, but she's allowed to remain at home. She was on house arrest with GPS monitoring, but she wasn't put into any type of insane asylum. Or
no, because that's a different process. That's a different process that they have to, deem her to whatever asylum or whatever facility. That's a whole different process. She is legal process as far as them figuring out what
she's home. She's not going to the insane asylum.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So she doesn't have to. If she were going to, that would be a whole different process, is what I'm saying. That's not a different process. But she has been acquitted, I should say. And let me correct myself. I said that they gave her credit for time served.
Wait a minute. How can she be deemed insane and not given not put into an insane asylum?
Because they're not saying typical. They're not saying typically insane. When you hear what they said she had a psychotic break. And again, this is what I'm saying. It's just a moment in time. Right. In this particular moment in time, her mind broke. The fever was so high and COVID was so rampant in her brain, it caused her to live in a different realm. If you think about it, you know how sometimes
she may not even go to an insane asylum.
She's not going to do anything. The way this judge's directed verdict says that they'll have community supervision look at her, I think once or twice a year. For all intents and purposes, she has absolutely gotten away with the murder of this child. But, I have this theory. The prosecution could have done better. Let's just say that. The theory that, her husband was about to leave her and she wanted to get even with him, so she drowned the baby, is just foolishness. This is not Lifetime movies. This is not a Hallmark situation. That was an absolute foolish argument. Whether true or not, after she done stabbed the hell out of him, I bet you he ain't going nowhere. I bet you he's not leaving her now.
Apparently this is just what I'm reading in media, so I cannot vouch for the validity of it. Apparently, the other children are still, I guess, in both of their custodies. The husband, or Evan, he has not left her. But this is one of the things is that, Nicole, you mentioned about the bench trial. Well, in order to not have a bench trial, Florida would have to change their whole statutes. That would have to go back to the Florida legislature, because you can choose a bench trial or waive yourself for a jury trial. So in doing that, her team was not doing anything out
wrong. Yeah,
right.
It's a smart strategy.
The best strategy, right? They chose the best strategy for their client that they could think of in this circumstance. But again, she literally walked away, and I said they may have given her credit for time served. That may not be correct. I don't think she did that. I think she was just acquitted. So I think she just acquitted. She was just outright acquitted all that time. Yeah.
Here's the video. She did an interview after the acquittal, and here she is speaking on it. Take a look here.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. I also am very humbled. This was a long time coming. I spent 4 years.
Can you hear her?
Incarcerated.
No, barely.
She's speaking so low.
Lots of ups and downs. I had a wonderful lawyer that believed in me from the start, and he fought and he fought and he fought nail and tooth for me, and I couldn't have asked for anyone better. My family stood behind me. I remember the coming out on house arrest and reading comments on social media. It was rough. It was hard. People were really quick to judge. And a lot of things they were saying were terrible. Why? Because they don't know me. And it's really easy to judge someone, to judge a situation. My daughter is not here.
All right. I'm not sure if you guys could hear. She's speaking so softly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. She's when I saw this, again, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not diagnosing her, but in my never to be humble opinion, she is crazy. She has a form of Munchausen syndrome added with some narcissism there. She's making this all about her. Notice she kind of distances herself from actually committing the crime, the murder, if you will. I know she wasn't charged for that. I'm using that, but she distances herself. She says, my daughter's not here, as if someone took her daughter from her, right? As if someone else did this deed, and that people don't know how hard it was. She's the center, not the daughter, not the dead child, not the other daughter and the husband that she stabbed. She's the center. This woman, this person, I think personally, she does need to be committed somewhere, but she's not doing it.
See if this is
look
better.
Look at her body language too.
Right. Do you take responsibility for the death of your daughter? It's a hard thing, but absolutely. I know people say, well, just because she was in psychosis doesn't mean that she shouldn't have to take responsibility. Every morning I open my eyes, I take responsibility. Every morning I open my eyes and have to walk in the sense it's like the entire time I was like, okay, now the candid cameras can come out. Like, I don't know what this is, but somebody's going to come and say, hey, look, your baby's fine. Like, this was all just one big elaborate joke to see how you handle pressure. I have to wake up with the fact every day that my daughter is gone because of something that was outside of what I could contain and what I can do, and what I experienced on that day was definitely something that was not normal. I can't even explain. It was something that was so strong, and I dare to say so demonic in nature. And to hear a voice and to not want to do it, but you hear something, and if you don't want to do it, it's going to make you do it. That's something I could not understand and could not come to terms with.
Wow, that woman there does not appear like she's capable of doing the.
All right.
Yeah, so let's learn a little bit about who she is prior to the drowning of her daughter. She's a trained soldier. She was in the Navy. She also was in George Bush's bodyguard corps. So this is not some shrinking violet, as Kung Fu CJ said in the chat. She's also Haitian, and you can hear it in her voice and the way that she conducts herself. Yeah, but this is the thing that they tried to keep off the internet about her being Haitian, of Haitian descent.
Voodoo.
This part, right? So all of this, you are quote unquote a trained killer. And yes, you had COVID. And yes, when you started acting out of character, you're the first person in the nation whose family did not call 911 to come help you. But you tried to drown a toddler, then stabbed your husband, stabbed a teenager, and then came back and drowned this toddler. So, facts be damned, the judge in his ruling was so hell-bent on looking at this COVID psychosis in something bigger and greater than the community standard. I'm so angry with the prosecution because they argued their case as if they were talking to a jury of her peers. They were not. They should have solely stuck to the legal argument, right? If this was a regular trial and there were 12 people sitting in a jury box, they could have successfully argued her husband was cheating on her. He was leaving her. The girlfriend was pregnant and she wanted out. She wanted to hurt him to his core. There would have been at least one person on that jury who would have been like, and I don't like the way she looked, like we're doing. And looking at her saying, there's something not quite right. Like there's something wrong. The elevator doesn't go all the way up. The picnic basket short one sandwich. There's something wrong with her, and your human eyes can see that. But the judge doesn't look at her like a human. He's only looking at the legal argument. That's how the defense won this case, by not putting it in front of a jury of her peers. Because I'm going to tell you, 12 people, her ass would be in prison. Make no mistake. There would be justice for this baby. She wouldn't be sitting there going, how do you feel? Oh, I feel great. I feel happy. How do you feel happy? Your 15-month-old is dead. You stabbed your teenager. You just stabbed your husband. How do those kids come home to this mother? Because listen, if you've killed my sibling, I don't care what was going on in your life. I don't want to come home to you, because what happens when mom pops off again? What happens then? She's not getting any treatment. She's not being held at any community standards. You get more community control put in place for traffic tickets, for stealing food out of the grocery store, stealing something from Walmart. They put you on probation. You got to report. You got to do UAs. You got to do all this other stuff. She's going home.
Yeah.
Clean home. Ridiculous.
We have let me read the super chat here. I think this is from Kung Fu CJ again. You're still awake, huh? Thank you for your $2. So COVID makes you crazy. Yeah. So we have an example, exemplar here that says so. Unfortunately, it made her crazy, but now we have 3 victims and one of them being dead. And so, all of her craziness caused this, but we buried the baby and 2 other people get stabbed, and she's the one that's okay. Yeah.
Oh my She's at home baking biscuits, honey, making beans and rice, minding her business. And this is the reason why the legislators are so angry. There are legislators in Florida who are following this case because, COVID psychosis is a thing, but it is incredibly rare. Incredibly rare. And then her reaction to this COVID psychosis, where she actually committed violence, is even more rare.
Exactly.
So there were a lot of eyes.
What about the COVID caused her to commit violence? I'm not connecting the COVID.
Just to simplify it, basically it caused some kind of systemic chemical inflammatory reaction between her brain and her body. So it's like a fever or something. And so these are the kind of things I'm just simplifying it very much. But this is what she's saying that's why it was specific to that time at that moment in that circumstance. She didn't, as far as we know, she doesn't have a history of mental illness. And after that, she has not exhibited, quote, any clinical mental illness signs. So she's just talking about it now. But anyway, but I want to say this as we close out. This week, all of these different cases, and even the cases we're talking about now, it kind of just gives me pause that in as great a country as we have, our legal system is only as quote unquote perfect as the people who manage it. I'll say manage. Okay. It's not a perfect system. And the law, as many laws as we have, some laws conflict with each other in the same jurisdiction at the same trial, no less. So it's a risk. It's a benefit versus risk, if you will, at whatever time, whatever the trial is, whatever the charges are, who the people are that are involved. Point right here, her defense weigh the benefit versus the risk of having a jury or a bench trial. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong. This is the system we have, and it's only going to be as good or as useful as we all kind of make it.
Agreed. And then Shelley, that brings me to my final point for the evening. And although this is not pop and politics, let me just say to you guys, please vote. Please vote. You have to vote. This is how you get yourself into the jury pool. And when you get that summons to do your duty, your civic duty, do it. Do it. Because this baby killer is roaming free with 4 other kids that are ripe for the killing, and a husband who's scared to damn death. He can say what he wants to, but and my last point about the case, when you saw him hugging her in the back when the verdict was read, he's too big of a dude. I don't know what kind of man would let her drown my toddler as big as he is. You know,
it's so many questions about this. I mean, for me, when I look at cases like this, when I'm looking at the headlines, the racial, contention in the country, honestly, it pushes me back to my Bible. I gotta say, it makes me, even like this case, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. It really does. And the way I didn't know that she was Haitian, so that's another thing there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, folks, if this doesn't tell you, get on your knees and pray for people, read your Bible, get closer to God, because we are living in a chaotic world. In time. Get anchored in prayer, anchored in God's word, anchored in the truth, and pray for your family, pray for protection.